Hi, what's happening? Y'all, it's your boy Rico from Street Scores, and I think it's about time to talk about the Washington Commanders 2023 mini camps MVPs. Well, we're mostly going to talk about 7 players or 7 things, 7 concepts, 7 people, whatever, whose stocks you need to buy in on right now because they may be a little low. Again, the concepts of buying stock low and selling high is that we're not talking about guys like Terry McLaurin and Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Jahan Dotson. We know these guys are different. They're even receiving national praise from non-Commanders fans and media members. Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen both got all-pro votes. Terry McLaurin is already seen as like a top 10 receiver amongst a lot of non-Commanders fans and media members. So we're not going to talk about them. We're going to talk about all of the guys that may surprise you a little bit, or they're back. They kind of lost it for a little bit. They were hurt. They were whatever. And now they're fully back, and if anything, better than ever. Things like that. So things that like you can buy the stock is pretty low right now. Maybe not amongst our fan base, but amongst the national media, this stock is pretty low right now. You better buy some before it skyrockets, and then you can sell high if you want to. So that is the concept behind this video. Again, we're not talking about anything just super obvious like Jonathan Allen being a great defensive lineman. We know that. There's no point. That's why when I do my coverage of like OTAs and mandatory minicamps practices, and when we're getting into training camps and like over like 6 weeks or something like that, when I talk about what's going on, I usually talk about things that change, things that are surprising, updates, people that got better or people that got worse, not just the same person is doing the same thing every day again, like Terry McLaurin and Jonathan Allen balling out. You expect that, and that's the same thing with the concept behind this video. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, I see all of the HD Rico comments and everything like that. I really appreciate it, man. Really, again, appreciate everybody that donated and gave to the channel so that I could get this camera. Big shouts out to y'all, man. And as always, all of y'all donations and everything are always going towards something for the channel. Next up is just better equipment all around, better mic, everything, better lighting, probably like a better green screen setup, everything. So man, I really appreciate y'all. And again, stay tuned for all of the rookie film sessions, because again, I'm gonna keep saying it, the Commanders are about to have a really long dead period of like 6 weeks. That doesn't mean Street Scores will. I'm gonna have daily content no matter what, so make sure y'all stay tuned. Without further ado, let's get it.
You tell your family you're gonna be a commander.
All right, so the first one is the Young and Sweat duo. Now, of course, amongst Commanders fans, and even not even all Commanders fans would necessarily think that this duo or have high expectations for this duo. They have high hopes, but a lot of people are very pessimistic about this whole Chase Young and Montez Sweat thing, especially Chase Young specifically, especially with them still wearing a boot and things like that. But I'm telling you right now, even though the stock may be low, especially amongst the national media, not to the Steelers though. I mean, I'm probably going to do a video on how the Steelers are snooping in on the whole Chase Young situation. But in general, the national media may not be as high on Young and Sweat as they should be. And again, I feel like a lot of Commanders fans aren't as well. But just to let you know, every practice and mandatory minicamp, those guys were dominating. They were having an immediate impact, an instant impact the day that they came in, and every day of mandatory minicamp they made an impact. They had Sam Howell running for his life. They were beating Charles Leno, Cornelius Lucas, Andrew Wiley play after play and things like that. First of all, one of the main things that I like about Young and Sweat coming back and being so great already, it looks like they picked up right where they left off when they were both at their best. Like Chase Young looks like a better version of Defensive Rookie of the Year of himself type of thing. And then Montez Sweat just looks like straight up Montez Sweat, like as if we didn't just go on like a few months break after the end of the Cowboys game last season. It looks like we just played the Cowboys last week with the way that he looks in practice. But one of my favorite parts about them balling out is that it's going to make Charles Leno, Cornelius Lucas, Andrew Wiley, and a lot of these offensive linemen better players. When you're going against, first of all, just this entire defensive line, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat, Chase Young, and even John Ridgway and Fedarian Mathis coming off of the bench, and then KJ Henry as well. When you're going against these guys every day in practice, it's got to make going against other people, other defensive lines in the NFL, seem a little bit easier, or at least less difficult. Nothing comes easy in the NFL, but when you have to deal with arguably the best defensive line every day for an entire off season. When you get to the regular season, you be like, man, this is, if anything, less difficult. Like this feels easier. I'm not going against a freakazoid athlete just made from a lab and Chase Young and Montez Sweat on the outsides. I'm not dealing with Pro Bowl, all pro voting, getting guys like Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, like every day. Like, it's just, in comparison to what they had to deal with all of the time, it's just only going to make the offensive line better. Hopefully it makes them good enough. Because this defensive line is definitely making them better, but is it good enough to protect Sam Howell? We have to see. That we won't probably really get a good idea of that until we go against the Ravens in joint practices and then play them in the subsequent preseason game after those practices. But also, just going back to Young and Sweat, man, I've been hearing nothing but great things. I mean, batting down passes, getting around the guy, blocking them so easily. Chase Young, most notably, has put away that stutter step that was really holding him back. The first, all the way up until he got hurt in 2021, he kept doing it. That's why he wasn't being productive and getting sacks. And then even after he came back fully healthy at the end of last season for those last few games, it came back and he started doing it again. And it's just like, stop doing that. That's what's holding you back from being great. Maybe non-freak athletes, made in the lab type guys should probably use that to kind of confuse an offensive lineman. But if I'm an offensive lineman, I'm more afraid of Chase Young just attacking me with great ball get off and straight strength and speed and athleticism, rather than trying to do like a Barry Sanders juke before he goes at me, because that gives me time to set up and prepare for him. So it may work every now and then. I'm not saying throw the move away, but do it way less than you've been doing it up to this point. So the fact that he's pretty much put that away, he's not doing it anywhere near as much, is why I'm very optimistic that Chase Young's going to ball out. And again, Montez Sweat, his problem has always been one step away. He always has the pressures. He usually leads our team in pressures, usually top 10 in the NFL in pressures throughout a season, or at least the majority of a season. But he just doesn't turn them into sacks. I mean, most notably the Ryan Tannehill play where he had him engulfed and Ryan Tannehill still got out of it. Or he's always like this one step away, where if he was just one step quicker, it would have been a sack or a strip sack or a batting the ball down, at least touching the quarterback. Whereas usually, you know, he's just like one step away and almost there to where it counts as a pressure, but it could have been way more if he was just somehow a step quicker, whether it's technique or, you can't really be a step quicker athleticism wise. It's pure technique that he just needs to improve on, because he's already a crazy athlete, so I'm not worried about that. But either way, shouts out to the Young and Sweat duo. Again, for reasons I've already explained, the stock is pretty low. So go ahead and buy it now, because they're about to go out there and ball out. They're both fighting for the same contract, technically, even though they're like best friends, and you couldn't even tell that they're fighting for the same contract. It doesn't look like there's any animosity towards those guys, just healthy competitive nature that they've always had, even before this situation that they're in, where they're both technically fighting for the same contract. But who knows? Maybe they both go out there and look like Hall of Famers, and then we find a way to pay both of them. Who knows? Doubt it happens, but we'll see. Next up, the young secondary is a huge stock you need to buy right now. I'm pretty sure it's low. Even if you ask most Commander fans, just based off of what we've seen from this secondary the past few years, even though last year was a huge improvement, especially after we got rid of William Jackson. But I'm pretty sure the stock is still very low amongst Commanders fans. And of course, the stock is extremely low amongst national media members. Nobody's talking about our secondary on ESPN, Fox, NFL Network, or anything like that, other than the fact that we drafted Emmanuel Forbes and Quan Martin. But I haven't heard anything like, oh yeah, watch out for this Commanders secondary. It may be one of the best in the NFL. It may be one of the strongest position groups on that team. We already know it's receiver and defensive line. You can argue between the two. You can maybe argue wide receiver, the high tier of it, and then you can argue defensive line, the depth. But then both of them, you can argue both. The wide receiver room has crazy depth, and then the defensive line has star players as well. So it's really just an endless argument that's going to be fun to have. But now we're throwing in an extra name in there, throwing in an extra opponent. It's been defensive line versus wide receiver for like the past year, and especially this offseason, we've already just all Commanders fans pretty much agree that it's between defensive line and receiver. Now you could throw secondary in there as well, the dark horse. And I mean, the young secondary especially, man, I've been hearing great things about Percy Butler. He's been balling all offseason so far in the spring. OTAs, mandatory mini camps, everything. He's pushing to get some playing time. And just sticking with Percy Butler, who's I guess more of a safety than a corner, but he's kind of like a Quan Martin, who is like slot corner, free safety, strong safety, whatever you need him to do. But just sticking with safety, because he's more of a safety if anything, even though it's quite likely that he could play some slot corner. I mean, you have Cameron Curl, who's Mr. Never Makes the Same Mistake Twice, and I think this is going to be the year where he finally shows why he should be considered like a top 10 safety in the NFL, at the very least top 15. and get that big bag. Hopefully we pay him before he does it, because the price only going to go up. I can already tell you now, Cameron Curl, as long as he stays healthy, is going to have a ridiculous year this year, and the price is only going to go up. So you better pay him before this season starts, because it's only going to get worse by the time he's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. But either way, man, especially if he can stay healthy, the Commanders have already said the reason that they wanted to bring in Quan Martin, they want Derek Forrest and Percy Butler to develop further, is so that Cameron Curl can play strictly strong safety. They don't want him playing Buffalo nickel as much anymore. I mean, occasionally he may do it, but nowhere near as often as he used to, because they felt like that was the reason he kept getting banged up and hurt last year. So now they want him to play pure from strong safety. He's going to be hurt less because of that. He's going to be more so in coverage rather than helping stop the run, even though he's still going to contribute that way, but it's definitely going to be more coverage based as far as responsibilities go. So he's going to have a ridiculous year, because when it comes to safeties, you're looking at passing stats more than running stats, like tackling and stuff like that anyway, especially like interceptions and passes deflected and all that type of stuff. So I think this is just going to be his year. Then Derek Forrest, whenever Cameron Curl's out there, Derek Forrest looks like a Pro Bowler. It's just when Cameron Curl isn't out there, he just looks lost. I mean, that 49ers game is all you need to show tape-wise for why Derek Forrest looks completely basically like a 65 overall when Cameron Curl's not out there. Cameron Curl out there, he's in the 80s. Cameron Curl not out there, he's in the 60s. Again, just look at the 49ers tape and just focus on Derek Forrest all game. It's really crazy. I don't know how Cameron Curl is that much of a difference and that much help to him, but he is. I see why he is a difference and why he's a help, but that big of a gap is ridiculous, dog. Come on, Derek Forrest. We need you to become a little bit more independent than that. But it is what it is. Either way, Derek Forrest, as long as Cameron Curl's healthy, is a different type of guy. Ball hawk, always around the ball, making plays, great coverage plays, freak athlete. All it was is just he needed to catch up mentally, IQ, awareness. That's what you can say for a lot of these players on this team, not even just defense. And once he got that, it's only up from here. And so that safety tandem right there, and again, like I've already explained, Cameron Curl should be healthier this year, should hopefully be able to play all the games, so we should have no more down 60-something overall versions of Derek Forrest this year. So I'm expecting great things out of him. Then Quan Martin, who we just drafted, slot corner, safety, whatever you want to say, he's making play after play, interception after interception, or he's the one making the play, deflecting the pass to where somebody else gets the interception. That's happened like 3 times this offseason already, after only 9-10 practices or something like that. He's balling out as a second-round pick who a lot of people felt like was a reach. And then, of course, the cornerback group. I mean, Mayhew Forbes is looking like that 16th overall pick that we were lucky to get even that late. He's already looking really good against Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. I mean, of course, he's occasionally getting beat, but at the end of the day, man, Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson are different type of guys. Again, I keep saying it in several videos and live streams, when the offense is performing well, when they're balling out, you're looking at the defense like, is the offense that good or are y'all that bad? Same thing, vice versa. When the defense is balling out, you're looking at the offense like, I don't know. Is the defense really that good or are y'all just that bad? I know for a fact Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson are that good, for sure. So if Emmanuel Forbes is making plays against them, that just means that the defense has gotten better. The offense is what it is. We already know what they do. We know how they get busy, even just individually as receivers, Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. So it's basically just iron sharpening iron, and I'm really excited about that. So Emmanuel Forbes, it's not even much more to say. You've already seen all of the clips that I've posted on my channel with, random highlights of different mini camp practices and things like that. Batting the ball down, having strap up coverage against Terry McLaurin with them step for step, things like that. That length is showing. The IQ, the awareness, the film study, the speed, the quickness, the explosion, the hips, and the length are all showing. We still got to see about the weight once we get the full contact and we start wearing pads and really hitting for real, especially when we go against the Ravens in that joint practice situation like I've already talked about in that the upcoming preseason game after that. But until then, right now, he looks like the truth. And then, I mean, Benjamin St-Juste is still Benjamin St-Juste. Nobody, after we release Cam Dantzler, we have no other corner on this team even relatively built like a Benjamin St-Juste. 6'3", really long arms and great hips. He's the only corner really on our roster right now that I'm comfortable with him covering Justin Jefferson for the majority of a game. Covering a CeeDee Lamb, an A.J. Brown, the bigger guys, the bigger, tougher, contested catch guys, even like the route running guys like a Justin Jefferson. As long as they're like of a certain height and build, I'm a little afraid about Kendall Fuller and even Emmanuel Forbes with his length covering those big guys because they may be able to just box Emmanuel Forbes and Kendall Fuller out. You can't necessarily box out Benjamin St-Juste. He's too long. It would be nice if he can gain some muscle, but hey, man, Benjamin St-Juste is just Benjamin St-Juste. And then we're going to talk about him, what he said a little bit later when we talk about Bieniemy, because that's, of course, a stock you need to buy now. And then Kendall Fuller, man, still arguably one of the smartest corners in the NFL. Pro Football Focus loves him. They have him ranked as like the best corner in the NFL some years, especially recent. I think it was like last year or the year before that. They love him. It literally, if you could just take Kendall Fuller's brain and put it into a freak athlete's body, he would be the best corner in the NFL. His only problem is that he's slow, doesn't necessarily have great hips, doesn't have like exceptional length. If we're just talking about his athletic profile and his just body size, all of that, his body type, everything like that is really mediocre and even below average in certain aspects. But his intelligence is just so ridiculous. His veteran presence, he's irreplaceable in certain ways for this secondary. So it's huge to have him and a Cameron Curl in that secondary for sure. But yeah, man, this young secondary is balling out, man. It's just crazy. The fact that Percy Butler is even making plays. We're looking like, first of all, we're trying to figure out who's going to be our starting corners. Quan Martin looks like your starting slot. They already said Kendall Fuller can only play outside. Emmanuel Forbes is a 16th overall pick, and then Benjamin St-Juste can cover the wide receivers that nobody else in the secondary can cover. Who do you bench there? And then on top of that, Cameron Curl, Derek Forrest, again, Quan Martin is your slot, strong safety, free safety. Where does Percy Butler even fit into this? But he's looking so great. It's like you got to find a way to use him somehow on defense. And then even Jeremy Reeves is making plays right now. And I'm not saying that like Jeremy Reeves is bad, but we have him here mostly because of his special teams. He was the all-pro special teamer, basically voted by the NFL and coaches and everybody to be the best special teams player in the entire NFL. And he's out here getting interceptions in practice right now. I mean, the depth of this secondary is insane. It went from being one of our weaknesses, one of our like, oh man, we're one injury away from this being disastrous, to arguably, again, defensive line, wide receiver, secondary. What's our biggest strength on the team? A great argument to have right now. Next up, Khaleke Hudson. That stock is extremely low. I'm pretty sure if you ask the majority of Commanders fans, they have extremely low stock on Khaleke Hudson. So you know for a fizzac, the media members don't care about Khaleke Hudson's existence at all. I'm pretty sure Stephen A. Smith doesn't even know this man exists. So you know that stock is probably the lowest out of any stock we're going to talk about today. And I'm telling you now, buy in. This man has been doing his thing in these offseason practices. Jamin Davis, of course, has been hurt. And it's not like he re-injured anything, re-aggravated anything. It's not like he got hurt recently. He had an off-season procedure, basically like a little cleanup type of thing, where it's just like, you know what, we might as well go ahead and knock this out now after the Cowboys game. Go ahead and get this out the way so that by the time they really need me, which is training camp, I'll be 100% ready to go and I won't have anything holding me back. Whereas if he just didn't get that surgery, we would have been a little bit concerned. Like, I mean, he would have been available for these OTAs and mandatory mini camps, but it would have always been that thing in the back of his head, the back of our head, like, I don't know, man, watch out for Jamin Davis. Something could happen and it could all go wrong. So I'm glad he got that surgery out the way, but because of it, we haven't really seen him. He's been doing like little individual drills, running around, doing stuff like that, but he hasn't participated on 7-on-7s, 11-on-11s, things like that. So Khaleke Hudson is take over as linebacker 1. If I had to put my money on it, I thought it would have been like a combination of David Mayo and Cody Barton or something like that. But it's been reported that, if anything, Khaleke Hudson is your linebacker 1 right now. And then even after that, if they have a second linebacker on the field, and that's if, because we're not going to have 3. There's just really no reason to have 3 if we have a second linebacker on the field so far in practices, because we just basically been doing a bunch of passing stuff. We haven't really worked on running stuff on the offensive side because, like, what's the point? There's no real contact, so what can you even, like, evaluate? And then, again, we've lost practices because of us having a little bit too much contact in previous off seasons. So the Commanders are like, we're not risking it at all. Forget running the ball. We're doing straight passing plays, all OTAs and mandatory minicamps, basically. Like, 99% of the plays they've done so far in the offseason have been passing. So, because of that, Khaleke Hudson at times is like your lone linebacker out there. And if anything, maybe it's 2 of them, but it's definitely not 3. And again, the fact that Khaleke Hudson is linebacker 1 is amazing, but even crazier is the fact that when there's 2 of them out there, is David Mayo instead of Cody Barton. So right now, Cody Barton, between Jamin Davis, Khaleke Hudson, David Mayo, and Cody Barton, he's 4th. I guess in the depth chart. If there was just like a one linebacker depth chart, not two, if there's one, he's technically the fourth stringer right now, I guess, but I guess it's because he's trying to learn the system. Because I'm assuming by the time we get to week 1 or at least some point during the regular season, he should be ahead of David Mayo in the depth chart, because David Mayo is only useful on obvious running downs and goal line stuff, 4th and inches, things like that. Anything other than that, I prefer Cody Barton today. But I don't know. They have David Mayo out there for some reason. But either way, the fact that Khalid Hudson has separated himself from everybody else, because we know when Jamin Davis comes back healthy, when there's 2 linebackers on the field, it's definitely not David Mayo. It's Jamin Davis, and then Khalid Hudson becomes the second linebacker. He's linebacker 2 at that point. But the fact that Khalid Hudson has separated himself like this, he's clearly the best linebacker we have while Jamin Davis is still out right now. That's really interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that. Even with how he balled out against the Cowboys, I'm not saying that I thought it was a fluke, but I was still like, I gotta see it, man. It took your entire rookie contract to have one good game, but it sounds like something finally clicked, and now he's continued that momentum from that final game of the season against the Cowboys last year where he balled out. It looks like he held on to that. That wasn't a fluke. That wasn't like a one-time thing. Something finally, he just understands something, and now he looks like a really good linebacker. It took him beyond his rookie contract, because now we re-signed him to a 1-year deal for him to figure it out, but I'm glad that he's got it. So at the very least, we should have Khalid Hudson and Jamin Davis out there. You have David Mayo as a dependable run defender, but a complete liability in coverage, and then Cody Barton, from what I saw looking at his Seahawks tape, he was getting better and better as the year went on, and by the time the season ended, he actually looked like a pretty good quality linebacker. So I'm comfortable with Cody Barton as our 3rd best linebacker. I just don't know what's going on right now why they have him behind David Mayo on the depth chart, basically. Next up, Howell's development. And you know this stock is extremely low, because you have people out here ranking Sam Howell as the 32nd quarterback in the NFL, like dead last, behind even some rookies that have yet to play a single game yet. Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, all of these guys. And Anthony Richardson, I love him. I think he has the talent to ball out, but he's as raw as it gets when coming out of the draft. You still have Will Levis. You have all of these guys, and Sam Howell is ranked below all of them. Like, that's insane, dog. At the very least, he played one NFL game, and he looked really good in it. He wasn't perfect in it, because that interception towards Cam Sims was terrible. That was like triple coverage, made absolutely no sense. But other than that, he looked really good and really inspiring. There were a lot of things to be optimistic about, especially a lot of those deep shots. And so I'm just confused as to how people have him ranked like dead last on their list and things like that. At the very highest, like 29, 28 or something like that, I think I've seen. So his stock, again, just to prove the point, is like at rock bottom. Like, it's rock bottom gifts. The only reason Khalid Hudson is below Sam Howell as far as stock goes right now is because a lot of people don't even know he exists to even put him at rock bottom. Sam Howell, people know of him, they just don't think he's going to be very good. But I'm telling you right now, everything we've seen in practices, he's done more than enough to continue being QB1 going into training camp. Rivera would have said if Howell was just making too many mistakes, and it's like, I don't know, man. Jacoby Brissett, it may be neck and neck. No, Ron Rivera made it clear. Sam Howell has definitely done enough. He's grown enough. He's made enough plays, great decision making, improved mechanics, improved footwork, and things like that, to the point that he still has some things he needs to work on, but overall he has been the better quarterback, point blank period. Jacoby Brissett versus Sam Howell. Sam Howell has been the better quarterback. You can argue Jacoby Brissett is maybe has been a little bit more consistent, but I've been hearing a lot of things and even been seeing a couple of clips where he's like holding on to the ball too long. So Sam Howell, in contrast, he's thrown more interceptions than Jacoby Brissett, but that's because he's trying to get rid of the ball quickly, make decisions quicker and things like that. He's trying to simulate real game action. Whereas Jacoby Brissett looks like he's taking complete advantage of the fact that there's no real contact, there's no real pass rush. Defensive players come straight to him and basically tap him on the shoulder, and they're like, that would have been a sack if this were a real game. And then he's still continuing to throw the ball to an open receiver. Like, that's how long he's been holding on to the ball. So it's like, yeah, he hasn't thrown as many interceptions, but the reason he hasn't is because he's holding on to the ball for forever, where Sam Howell is trying to simulate real game pressure. Like, oh no, Chase Young coming, let me move this way and throw this, and then it may result in a bad play. So, and again, Sam Howell's highs have been way higher than any Jacoby Brissett's highs. So Sam Howell has done enough to earn the trust of this entire team, this coaching staff, Eric Bieniemy most notably, me as Rico of Street Scores, this fan base. I'm telling you, if you haven't bought Sam Howell stock yet, buy it, because he looks like that guy. Right now, his favorite target is Logan Thomas. He seems to find him whenever he needs to, wherever he needs to. If he needs a touchdown, he's able to throw it to him. Sam Howell has spread the ball all over the place too. I remember in voluntary OTAs we were hearing that his favorite target was Bieniemy Brown. Now it's clearly Logan Thomas, but he's also throwing touchdowns to Jahan, Terry McLaurin, all of the tight ends. I've heard touchdowns, John Bates, Curtis Hodges, Cole Turner. Everybody's in on the action from Sam Howell. He's able to deliver the ball no matter how tall you are, no matter how slow you are, fast, quick, short arms, big arms, right-handed, left-handed, body catcher, hands catcher. It doesn't matter. Sam Howell, and I think that's an underrated trait of his. Sam Howell is looking like he can deliver the ball no matter what your profile, no matter your athletic build, no matter the type of receiver you are, all that type of stuff. Because timing matters. Height matters and all of that type of stuff. You have to throw the ball to a 6'7" guy different than you would to a 5'10" guy. Just point blank, period. And then the 6'7" guy is going to be slower than the 5'10" guy. So if you're trying to anticipate where to throw the ball, you're going to throw it further ahead or sooner for the 5'10" guy than the 6'7" guy. Sam Howell already seems to, I wouldn't say master that, but he's doing really good with that already. So man, I'm telling you, Sam Howell's optimism should be through the roof if you're a fan of the Commanders. I'm telling you right now, go ahead and buy in. This is the time. And then next up, speaking of Logan Thomas, this tight end room, man, and I'm going to tell you now, I'm still a little low, but I may bite the bullet and go ahead and buy some stock. Because even coming into this offseason, and again, even currently right now, especially after Armani Rogers got hurt, I've been a little pessimistic about this tight end room, and I thought we should definitely address it at the very least in the draft, and if anything, maybe in free agency and things like that, even before the draft. But this tight end room looks really good. Logan Thomas looks like he's his 2021 self, and if anything, from everything I'm hearing, he looks like he may be even a little bit better. Now, and it may just be because he finally has a better quarterback throwing on the ball. That may be a lot of it. I mean, there may be some of it, like he is back to his 2021 self. Maybe he's learned a few things, and as of right now, he looks like our best tight end too, receiving wise. He's had the most consistency. He's been Sam Howell's favorite target. He's had even some of the highest highs and the most flashes and everything. I mean, just especially over the middle, Logan Thomas is like automatic. Right now, Sam Howell being 6 foot tall behind all of these really big, tall offensive linemen, of course you don't really expect him to be able to hit the middle of the field as well as he can hit the rest of the field, but at least it's not Russell Wilson level bad. He can still hit other guys, but it's clear that like Logan Thomas is the guy when in doubt over the middle. He's like 6'6", 6'7", and he seems to find him there every time in the red zone, whatever. But again, going back to the tight end room, I mean, if Logan Thomas is a slightly better version of his 2021 self, the best receiving tight end we have on this roster right now, especially with Armani Rogers hurt, this is going to get crazy. We have so many mouths to feed, like I've already explained, so it's going to be hard for anybody in this offense to put up crazy stats, especially game-to-game-wise. But Logan Thomas is one of those guys you may be able to sneak into some fantasy football to get that occasional touchdown every game, like 1 or 2 or something like that. I think he's going to have a really good year because, again, right now, he's Sam Howell's safety blanket. And a young learning quarterback, a developing quarterback's best friend is always going to be a dependable big target like a tight end and a great run game. Again, we haven't been able to work on the run game so far in the offseason for the reasons I've already laid out. They're just afraid of getting some practices taken, and plus they feel the need to work on the passing game more than the run game because we can figure out the run game quickly. We can work on that. That's easy. But the passing game, we got to get Sam Howell developed. Maybe if there were Pat Mahomes as our starting quarterback, maybe you can work in the run game a little bit more. But you have a new quarterback, a new offensive coordinator, a lot of new pieces, new offensive line. And when it comes to offensive line, I feel like learning how to pass protect is a little bit more difficult than learning how to run block when it comes to like trying to get a new offensive line to mesh and build chemistry, learn to communicate pass off stunts and things like that better. So it's just we need as many pass reps as we can get. So, but either way, man, Logan Thomas looks like that guy. From what I've been hearing, what I've been seeing, he looks basically uncoverable no matter who's on him. Benjamin St. Juste, Emmanuel Forbes, they make great plays. They're right there with him, but he just has this innate ability. And a lot of people think it's because, you know, he used to be a quarterback and he just knows what a quarterback wants him to do. He knows how to contort his body to signal that he's open, where to place his hands. He's like, okay, in the mind of a quarterback, if I were a quarterback, which I used to be, this is how I would want my tight end / receiver to do certain things to make it easier for me to get him the ball. He's doing all of those things, and that's just something Cole Turner, John Bates, and even Armani Rogers and Curtis Hodges don't have to their game, and it's showing, man. He's looking like our clear tight end one from what I'm hearing, maybe even by far. But don't sleep on the other guys, because I've heard that Cole Turner has flashed a lot. He's looking a lot like his past self from last offseason before the hamstring issues, where he was looking like our savior. And then Curtis Hodges has even shined a lot. He's improving as a blocker. He's been getting touchdown after touchdown. I mean, how do you cover 6'8"? There's nobody. If Sam Howell throws it up high enough, it doesn't matter how long 6'3" Benjamin St. Juste is, how much of a freak athlete Emmanuel Forbes is, Derek Forrest, all of these guys. You can't cover 6'8" if Sam Howell puts it up there the right way. And so that's just unstoppable. And then John Bates is solid as well. I've been hearing that he's catching pretty much anything thrown his way. You don't expect him to separate like a Cole Turner or a Logan Thomas in coverage. You don't expect him to really like get open. But so far when he is open and it's thrown his way, he's catching it for touchdowns and everything. And then of course he's our best blocking tight end. He's only getting better. So this tight end room, you may want to buy some stock. I'm not going to act like a lot of these other things, the Young and Sweat duo, the young secondary, Khalid Hudson and Sam Howell's development. I'm not going to act like this tight end room stock is going to eventually skyrocket to a certain point, but I know for a fact it's very low and you're definitely going to make a profit on it. That's my main point. That's the reason for the concept of these type of videos. You're going to make a profit. Where the tight end room stock is as of today is going to be higher than that when we're in the regular season. It may not be sky high. It may not be to the point that where we're still looking like where we no longer are like we need to bring another tight end in. I mean, I'm not saying the tight end room is going to be great or perfect, but I definitely am going to say that it's going to be improved beyond from what people are thinking this tight end room is going to be. They're going to be better than a lot of people feel like they're going to be. I'm telling you, as long as everybody can stay healthy. So again, buy the stock if you're trying to make a profit because it's on the way. And then next stock that you need to buy is Bieniemy's scheme. And I've already done a full breakdown about Bieniemy's scheme and his impact on the team and things like that, and why you need to buy his stock early and all of that type of stuff, and my little OTAs breakdown and all of that. But we're just going to do this one quote. We're just going to break down this one quote, and we'll leave Bieniemy alone because we could talk about Bieniemy for hours and how this team is already way better just because of the offensive line, scheme-wise, blocking-wise, Sam Howell, run game-wise, getting the ball to the best players and allowing your best players to make plays and all of this stuff. Even beyond all of that, him being a motivator, cussing people out, making everybody do things again. Scott Turner, a lot of offensive coordinators we've had, if the offense makes a mistake, they'll correct them and tell them what they did wrong and how to fix it, but they won't do it again. They'll just move on to something else. Eric Bieniemy's like, no, you're going to do it again and again. If you keep messing up, we're getting rid of the starters and we're bringing in the backup so they can do it right because I'm sick of y'all type of thing. I absolutely love the mentality he's bringing. He's expecting like perfection basically out of everybody. It doesn't matter if you're Terry McLaurin, everybody's starting on a clean slate. Just because you're Terry McLaurin and what you've done in the past does not make you put you higher on Eric Bieniemy's list than a Curtis Samuel or even De'Ami Brown or Dax Milne. You need to go out there and earn all of the praise that you deserve. You need to go out there and earn all of these targets that you want in the regular season and postseason, all that type of stuff. So, but even beyond all of that, which I could break down for hours, but I've already talked about it in previous videos. Again, something else I've already talked about in the previous video, but I feel like this is the one I want to focus on the most in this video specifically. Starting corner, Benjamin St. Juste, again, the guy that did a great job against Justin Jefferson and A.J. Brown, did as well of a job as you could do against those guys out of anybody in the NFL, and you could technically say he shut down A.J. Brown. That guy, when talking about defending this new offense that Eric Bieniemy brought to the Commanders, he said, quote, a lot more explosive plays, a lot of different routes that we didn't see previously, which is just insane. It shouldn't be mandatory minicamps. We're already seeing route concepts and combinations that we never seen before. Like, that's ridiculous. That says more about how poor our previous offensive coordinators were than how great Eric Bieniemy is. I mean, of course, Eric Bieniemy is great, but that's just a shame. He also goes on to say it's less conservative in certain areas as well. Maybe you think on 3rd and short, they're going to do this, and then you see the ball thrown 40 yards over your head, and you're like, oh, snap, this is what we want. We want an explosive offense that can create plays from anywhere, unquote. And there's so many things to take from that, but one of the main things I want to focus on is the fact that it's 3rd and short, and we're throwing the ball 40 yards down the field. You know how off balance that's going to keep defenses, the fact that that threat's even there, and how much easier it's going to be to be able to run the ball on 3rd and short and pick up that first down, because defenses are scared that you may throw the ball 40 yards down the field. Without that threat, and they know you're going to run it, it's easier to stop you to run it. So even if your primary intention is to run the ball on 3rd and short, if you show enough defenses that you're willing to throw a deep bomb on 3rd and short, 40 yards down the field, it could potentially be a touchdown, that's going to scare them to death. Especially if you can show that you can actually do it effectively and efficiently. Just to throw the ball 40 yards down the field and just like overthrow a receiver for no reason on 3rd and short, that doesn't strike fear in the defense. But if you show that it can actually work over and over again, now the defense is having to overthink. They're having to play balance. They don't want to play too much against the run and give up a potential touchdown. Again, if if you're doing all of these mind tricks, all of these mind games, and at the end of the day, all you want to do is just run the ball on 3rd and short, which is the obvious move, but you're playing chess, not checkers. And that's huge, man. I mean, the fact that this defense, this secondary even feels like, man, I don't know what's about to happen. First of all, lets you know that they felt like in previous seasons with Scott Turner as defensive coordinator and other defensive coordinators before him, that they basically felt like, I mean, we pretty much could guess what was about to happen. But now, this offseason, with Eric Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator / assistant head coach, we don't know what's going to happen on any given play, which keeps us honest. And an honest and balanced defense is an easier defense to attack as an offense because you can clearly read what they want to do. They're not putting a lot of their assets and tools and people, players and things like that to stop one thing that you want to do. They're spread out thin, basically. They're like a jack of all trades rather than a master of none, and that's an easier defense to attack and dice up. So I'm really excited about that, man. That quote is one of my favorite quotes I've heard from the Commanders, Washington football team, Redskins in my entire life. I'm so optimistic about this Eric Bieniemy thing. And again, like I've already explained, man, you already know Eric Bieniemy's stock is really low around the NFL. And even some people in our fan base aren't sold on Eric Bieniemy yet. But I'm telling you, around the NFL, around the national media, a lot of people, I mean, the fact that Eric Bieniemy is struggling this much to even get a starting head coaching job should let you know everything you need to know about how low his stock is. And a lot of people don't believe he can do it. And then some people like Eric Bieniemy, but think that just the Washington Commanders, any team in Washington is just cursed to the point that, oh, look at the Commanders even find a way to mess up Eric Bieniemy and things. I've been hearing stuff like that. So Eric Bieniemy's stock is low, whether it's because of him or outside factors. Either way, the stock is low and you better buy in on it because that stock is going to skyrocket at a certain point. I'm telling you, he's a genius. And then lastly, health. I think health is a good stock that we need to pay attention to because as of right now, Curtis Samuel missed a couple of mandatory minicamps practices, but they're saying it's more of like a managing thing. He's already been working out hard and going 110% every play and things like that, so they just kind of wanted to give him some rest. So he should be good to go, especially by the time we get to training camp. No worries there. And then you have, I guess, Casimir Allen, who has like a hamstring issue, but they're thinking that it shouldn't last that long and shouldn't linger, so we should be straight. And then you have John Ridgeway and Jamin Davis, who are both recovering from injuries from last year. But as of right now, we have no like torn ACLs, no out for seasons, no out through. As of right now, the way it's looking, our entire 90-man roster should be healthy and good to go for training camp. That alone is a round of applause, and we gotta big up the health right now. Now, I'm not trying to jinx it. Go ahead and knock on some wood. Let me knock on several woods, you know what I'm saying, just in case. We got a plank in here. I need to get like a little wooden plank. I think that would actually be pretty funny, just to have a stupid little wooden plank like my dog from Ed and Eddie, just to knock on some wood real quick. But either way, man, not to jinx it, but as of right now, the Commanders' health is literally as good as it gets in the NFL. The NFL is a very unhealthy game, the unhealthiest game, and at the very least, America. And so the fact that our whole entire 90-man roster is expected to basically be not just participants in training camp, but full participants, we should have like literally nobody on the injury report, is spectacular. I can't even remember the last season I could say that. It's usually somebody recovering from a torn ACL from a previous year. We had Chase Young. We've even had like Jonathan Allen issues. We've had quarterback issues. I mean, Alex Smith, we worried about his leg. It's always been something. This is the first year is nothing, technically. In NFL terms, it's not zero, but in NFL terms, this is literally nothing. So, hey, man, that's something to be very optimistic about. And I feel like that's something that hasn't been discussed enough amongst Commanders media members and things like that. I haven't heard anybody talk about the health, and the health is a big thing right now because right now we look good. Unless there's something I haven't heard about, that I haven't seen in the article, that I haven't read about, I haven't seen any Commanders reporters talk about. I haven't heard anything about any injuries outside of Jamin Davis, John Ridgeway, Casimir Allen, Curtis Samuel, and I think Kendall Fuller even rested for like a practice, but that's it. Everybody's good to go. Nothing to worry about by the time we get to training camp, which is like 6 weeks away or something like that. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please leave a like in this video if you liked it and learned anything. As always, man, I appreciate all the support, man. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors. Names you see scrolling on the screen right now. Let me know how you feel about all of my 7 stock ups. Again, the Young and Sweat duo, the Young secondary, Khaleke Hudson is linebacker 1, Sam Howell's development, the tight end room, Bieniemy scheme and impact on the team, and then the overall health of the team. Let me know how you feel about all of those points. Add any more points if you want to, any stocks that are low right now that you think we need to buy in on because they're going to skyrocket by the time we get to the season. Let me know if you disagree with any of my points. Do you disagree with the tight end room? Do you disagree with Khaleke Hudson? Do you disagree about the health, Sam Howell, whatever? So let me know about how you feel about everything discussed in this video. I'm going to try to read and I'm going to try to reply to every comment. I just be so busy working on other content. I'm already working on my Street Scores U stuff, so if you haven't checked that out yet, I'm doing stuff for college football, most notably my Georgia Bulldogs, as you can see in the shirt and things like that. So I'm working on content for Street Scores U, and I've just been busy with a whole bunch of stuff even outside of YouTube. So man, make sure y'all stay tuned, and I'm just be patient with me. I'm trying. Catch y'all later. I'm out.